pretty exciting so far. Agree? We are? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Oh, I'm going to blow back. Yeah.
Thank you for your patience. We are obviously having a few technical difficulties. I'll be chairing this evening. Mayor Peckford is traveling currently. We've got two agendas. The first one is the Committee of Adjustment. We're going to start with that. And so I'll call the Committee of Adjustment meeting to order at 6:40 tonight. And I'll look to Councillor O'Sullivan to read the land acknowledgement. Thank you.
The municipality of North Grenville acknowledges that the municipality operates on the territory of the Anishinaabe. We recognize all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples who now call North Grenville their home. We respect and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship, and we commit to Indigenous-informed decision-making to foster the path towards reconciliation.
Thank you, Councillor O'Sullivan. Then we move on to disclosure of interest. This is if anyone on the committee has any disclosure of interest for any of the applications on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll go forward to the approval of the minutes from May 14th, 2025. That was the Committee of Adjustment meeting then. So I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at them? Okay, so moved by Councillor O'Sullivan and seconded by Councillor Wilson. Thanks very much. So we begin the meeting typically with regular announcement or declaration I have to make. So this is a public meeting for A-08-25 for 1297 Hilly Lane South. The Committee of Adjustment will now hold a public hearing to consider the application number A-08-25 on the lands located at 1297 Hilly Lane South, Concession 9, Part Lot 12 and 13, Geographic Township of South Gore, now the Municipality of North Grenville, to refuse an increase in lot coverage, a reduced interior yard setback, a reduced front yard setback, and an increase to the number of accessory structures, and to also approve a reduced setback from a building or structure from the high water mark of a water body. This hearing is your opportunity to provide any feedback on this application, and the committee welcomes any questions and comments you may have. We encourage you to do so at this public meeting, as the Planning Act rules suggest that the public's ability to voice objections later in the process may be limited if written or oral comment is not submitted. An appeal may be filed to the Ontario Land Tribunal by the applicant, a specified person, for example, Hydro One, or a public body. Debbie Wood will act as Secretary Treasurer and keep a summary of the meeting. Any persons who wish to receive notice of the committee's decision concerning this matter are asked to speak with Debbie Wood, our Secretary Treasurer, following this hearing, or provide your contact information on the sign-in sheet at the entrance. Are there people here for this public meeting? Can you acknowledge? We've got two. Okay, thank you. I'll now pass the meeting over to Amy Martin, Director of Planning and Development, who will give us an update of the application for 1297 Hilly Lane South. Ms. Martin?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. If we can go to the next slide. So our application tonight being heard before the committee is in regards to 1297 Hilly Lane South. The property is designated floodplain hazard under official plan and zoned flooding, erosion, and protection zone. The area of the property is around 8,850 square feet. It is currently used as a residential property. Other surrounding land uses include residential, and there are conservation lands. And I do note that this property is on the Rideau River. Next slide, please. So I wanted to acknowledge that the house and majority of the deck date back to around 1965. In this case, there are certain elements of the existing house and the deck that enjoy legal non-complying status in regards to their setbacks from the water body, the interior yard setback, and lot coverage. So in that regard, zoning hasn't always been around forever and a day. The construction of the original house and deck, based on the information provided, would have predated any zoning bylaws that would have existed for the former township of South Gore. The property is highlighted in blue on this map. As you can see, Hilly Lane is quite heavily populated with smaller lots of some which are of similar size. On the Rideau River, it is accessed. Hilly Lane is a private lane. It's not a municipally maintained road. And there is quite a bit of residential development within this area. And then the lands just to the south, as mentioned, are conservation lands that are owned by Rideau Valley. Next slide, please. Attached is a survey that was provided by the property owners, which shows the details. Oh, that's okay. It shows the details of what's located on the property. What I wanted to note is that we'll see in the next slide with the site plan that was provided that where the deck extension exists. So the area, it's hard to kind of see just based on the lighting and of the screen. The yellow area is the original deck, and the area that is just surrounded by the red marked out area minus the stairs was the area that was added as a deck extension. And then the area shown in green is what is a carport currently that exists. The applicants, the property owners, are looking to reduce that so it's just a canopy that covers the frame deck, including the deck extension. If we just go back to the previous slide, you'll see on the survey there are also 3 accessory structures on the property. The municipality does not have any record of any permits being taken out for these accessory structures, and as such, they do contribute to the overall lot coverage and the request that the applicants are seeking tonight to address and try to bring these structures into compliance with the zoning bylaw through the minor variance process. So if we just go back to advance the slide to the site plan that was provided, just to recap, the green area is where the carport canopy currently exists. It would be scaled back to just being over top of the deck and the stair area. So it would no longer cover a portion of the driveway. If we move to the next slide. So the request from the applicants as laid out would be to increase the maximum permitted lot coverage from 15% to 24%, to reduce the interior yard setback from 3 meters to 0.06 meters. And that is the shortest setback from the accessory structure that's located on the western property line. It would also decrease the minimum required front yard setback from 20 meters to 4.6 meters. So that recognizes the setback from the property line to the larger accessory structure. And then to increase the number of accessory structures that are permitted on the property from 1 to 3. Next slide, please. Staff also recognize that the deck and the house, the original deck and house, do have a legal non-complying status in regards to the setback to the water body. Our current comprehensive zoning bylaw requires a 30-meter setback, while the house and the original deck have about a 12.20 meter setback from the water body being the Rideau River. So staff are recommending that we just formalize what's existing through the variance process, since we're already at this table having this discussion. If the committee decides not to support this, that setback is still legal non-complying. They don't lose that right. Next slide, please. So staff are not satisfied that the minor variance meets the intent of the following policy documents: the provincial policy statement, the United Counties, should be provincial planning statement, the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville official plan, and the municipality's own official plan. The staff report prepared also goes into greater detail as to all the policies that apply. I don't want to keep everyone here until midnight going through that, but it is much more detailed in the staff report that is available online. So in staff's review, it was determined that the application is not minor in nature, and this is part of the 4 tests for a minor variance under the Planning Act. The request relates to granting permission to permit an exceedance in lot coverage within the floodplain by 24% when the zone standard is 15, and reduce setbacks and increasing the number of accessory structures. Our own official plan also sets some restrictions in regards to lot coverage and the number of accessory structures, and this would be an exceedance of the official plan policy. Next slide, please. The application also does not meet the intent of the zoning bylaw. So many zone standards are needed to be varied to permit the structures, including the accessory structures on the property. While as noted, the existing house and original deck have some legal non-complying status, the municipality does not have any building permit records for the deck extension, the canopy, and the accessory structures. Given that the flooding, erosion, and protection zone is restrictive and it's in line with our official plan, staff are of the opinion that the requested variances don't meet the intent of the flooding, erosion, and protection zone, which is intended to restrict development within the floodplain. Next slide, please. So the application does not meet the intent of the official plan. The policies of the county's official plan and our municipal official plan do not support the extent of the development that has occurred on the property. Next slide, please. All right. So as part of the analysis, working with the site plan that was provided, staff went through the zone standards of the flooding, erosion, and protection zone, and we noted the areas in which a variance was required. So as mentioned, front yard setback, the minimum interior side yard, the distance from the high water mark, and the lot coverage are all items that would need to be addressed through the variance process to allow for the property owners to then go through the process to legalize those structures by gaining the appropriate permits. Next slide, please. In regards to lot coverage, we did a breakdown in regards to what each of those structures occupy on the property. And so that was what we used to determine what the overall lot coverage ask would be for the variance. I also want to note that, I'm going to go into it a little later, but should the committee choose to support, a hybrid option, if they wanted to support the application, but they might want to reduce the number of accessory structures, this chart becomes very valuable in being able to determine what the overall lot coverage would be. Next slide, please. And then this is the lot setback to the interior setback. So that's the interior property lines to the adjacent properties. This is the breakdown of what the most minimum would be. So that accessory structure 1, which I should have labeled on the map, is the one accessory structure closest to the neighbor at 1299 Hilly Lane. It's located just 0.06 meters off the property line. So this is, again, just to demonstrate that, given the smallish nature of the lot, and where the buildings are located, that there is non-compliance with the interior yard setback. I wanted to provide to the committee that staff are recommending refusal of the application, although the committee has a variety of options always available to them, and staff do our best to provide to the committee what options they have in regards to making a decision. So the committee could decide to grant the variance for permission as it was requested by the applicant, which would increase the lot coverage, reduce the setbacks, and recognize that they would like to keep the 3 structures. The committee could also grant the variance for permission with amendments. So they could choose to say permit 1 out of the 3 accessory structures, and permit the modified canopy, et cetera. And the committee can also support staff recommendation of the refusal of the application. Next slide, please. Should the committee decide to grant the request for permission in its entirety or amending the resolution, staff would recommend that the committee consider the following conditions, including that a building permit be required for the canopy, deck extension, accessory structures where applicable, approval from the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority where applicable, and that they enter into a site plan control agreement to regulate the location of the deck extension, canopy, and accessory structures. I just also wanted to clarify for council that I know we've had a lot of discussion over the limitations of site plan control for single lot development. The province still does allow us to regulate residential development where it's adjacent to a water body. So we still have that authority to be able to regulate through our site plan control process. Next slide, please. We did have a neighbor reach out to inquire about speaking at the public meeting, but no formal comments have been received prior to this meeting. And I do anticipate that the committee will hear from the applicant and some of the neighboring property owners as well this evening through oral submissions. On the next slide, you'll see that we had some informal comments come through via email from the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority, although we didn't receive a formal letter prior to the meeting. The RVCA in general is supportive of the reduced canopy where it just covers the deck and the deck extension. And they also noted that their policy doesn't necessarily restrict the number of accessory structures, but it restricts the square footage to 50 square meters, of which these accessory structures in total would still be under that 50 square meter in size when you add them together cumulatively. Our building division also provided that building permits are required for the accessory structures where applicable and for the canopy and the deck extension. So a retroactive building permit would be required. So it is based on our policies. Staff do recommend refusal for permission in regards to the request before the committee this evening, because the intent of the official plan and comprehensive zoning bylaw are not being maintained. The request is not minor, and the increase in lot coverage, the reduced interior and front yard setbacks, and the increase in number of accessory structures are not appropriate in the flood hazard designation. And if we go to the next slide, staff are supportive of just formally recognizing the legal non-complying status of the setback to the water body from 30 meters to 12.2 meters. That concludes my presentation. I will turn it back over to you, Deputy Mayor, should there be any questions for me. And then we do have a portion where members of the public can provide comment or ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Lots of movable parts in this application, but thank you for the detail. Does council have any questions before I turn it over to the applicant and other members of the public? Yes. Oh, thank you. Go ahead, Madam Mayor.
When you're ready, Nancy.
So just checking, Deputy Mayor, if you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Am I audible through the clerk's cell phone or just through the general system?
You're broadcasting live.
Okay, great. Thank you. So just a couple of questions for Ms. Martin, and thanks to her for a very comprehensive report. I'm just wondering how this came to our attention. Obviously, some of these structures have been in place for quite some time, is my assumption. So I'm just curious how it became evident to the municipality that there was some non-conformity. And my second question is, what are the implications to the property owner if we don't, permit the variance, if you will? And I completely understand some of the policy limitations Ms. Martin is explaining, but I'm not clear on what the outcome would be if no accommodation is made this evening, given that this is a full-time residence, I presume, for the property owner, and they have been there for some time.
Ms. Martin?
Through Deputy Mayor to Her Worship. Thank you for the questions. Fantastic questions. So in regards to how this came to our attention, we did receive a complaint in regards to the fact that there were structures built without permits. And upon investigation, have been down this road to work with the property owners to get a building location survey to better understand setbacks and lot coverage and the whatnot. In regards to implications, should the committee refuse the variances, the property owners will be required to remove the structures and including the canopy and the deck extension from the property and put it back to how the property existed prior to them being constructed. There was a permit back in 2016 that renovated the house and the existing deck, so they would have to go back to that footprint. So they would be required to remove the accessory structures, the deck extension, and a majority of the canopy. Although it is recognized that they could keep a little bit of a roof overhang over the existing deck, they wouldn't be able to extend it out beyond what was the footprint prior to the addition, the deck addition and the accessory structures being added.
A follow-up, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. And what, apart from that, obviously you've highlighted, Ms. Martin, deviations in terms of our policy, and the fact that obviously from your perspective, you're not in a position to recommend the variance for a variety of reasons. From your perspective, what is the implication to leaving the structures as they are today? Accepting that, of course, they're not in compliance with existing policy, but from your perspective, I'm just trying to grapple with what the implications would be if we were to pursue status quo, if you will.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Her Worship. So in this instance, if the committee were to support allowing for the structures, it does set a precedent in the future for future property owners to come forward and to seek increases in lot coverage, to seek increases in the number of accessory structures, where we do try to limit those down to one. And again, being in the flooding and erosion and protection zone and the floodplain hazard, it's all about reducing risk in the event, risk and safety to people and property in the event of a major storm event. But all that to say is that it could be precedent setting, and people in the future could come forward and point to this decision to say, well, you allowed it here in this case, we're going to ask for the same thing. I also want to recognize that these are, the lots. And when you look at the aerial mapping, many of these homes have existed along Hilly Lane for, decades. And many of them enjoy legal non-conforming and legal non-complying statuses. And that's where we start to run into, kind of that typical, smaller cottage developments that predate zoning, where you have, all of these, the majority, no, I say all of them, but you do have instances where you're going to have non-complying setbacks or lot coverage. So we do our best to try and balance, and we do have some allowances within the flooding and erosion protection zone for, some additions, but, the restriction on the lot coverage is pretty clear at no more than 15%. So we do run the potential risk of future property owners coming in without having developed anything and asking to increase the allowances that our zoning bylaw establishes.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Martin. Any other questions before we go to the public? No? Seeing none? The committee will now hear from the appellant, followed by members of the public who wish to speak either for or against the proposal. Following any comments from the public, the applicant will be offered an opportunity to respond to questions raised. All persons wishing to address the proposal will ask their questions through myself, the chair. Please be advised that verbal feedback received at this meeting forms part of the public record, and as such, we ask that you please state your name and address prior to addressing the committee with your feedback. Committee members may also wish to ask questions through the chair to those making presentations. So it's an opportunity now for the applicant to come forward if they wish to speak to their proposal, followed by people who may be opposed to it.
Hello? Hi.
You're not on.
Hi. Oh, I'm not on.
You need a red. Oh, she is. Oh, there
There
you
we
go.
go. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you our reasons for requesting that a minor variance be granted for our property at 1297 Hilly Lane, Campbell.
And just state your name, just for the record.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Joan Winter Living. I'm with my husband, Yvan Living, of 1297 Hilly Lane.
Great. Thanks.
I've separated, I know there's a binder kicking around somewhere. I have separated the details of the proposal and the reasoning behind our request into sections for easy reference. So if anybody wants to see where I'm getting my information from, I've highlighted the narrative where a corroborating documentation is given in the sections that follow. So I've broken it up into different sections. I'll start with the history of what transpired. Our intent was initially to spend winters in warmer climates. Then the COVID pandemic hit and we had to stay home. We quickly came to realize that the wind in the winter coming off the Rideau River created a dangerous situation in the form of ice accumulating on the existing stairs and deck to our home. That's evidenced in section 1A. After consultation and agreement with our neighbor at 1299 Hilly Lane, using his survey, which is shown in section 4B, we thought we were putting up the carport 2 feet from the property line. At the time, we didn't realize we needed a permit for the carport. We did realize that we should have gotten a permit for the 6-foot 3-inch addition to the deck. We apologize for this. After completion of the project, our neighbor changed his mind on his approval and contacted the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority, who contacted the municipality of North Grenville. So in the first section, you will find the survey showing the winds in section 1A. Then in section 1B, there's initial letter of support dated back to before we started the project for the property at our next door neighbor at 1299. I've also enclosed a recent survey, which Debbie's shown, and then some pictures of the property as well. Secondly, the second section is to do with the survey and why everything took so long. At the request of the RCVA, we set out to get a building location survey. Once then the survey came out in 2021, but did not put in stakes and give us a copy of the survey. I called them and went into the office to get the survey. I was told it was being reviewed, and they would call us when it was complete. The next time we heard from them was when we were presented with an invoice in 2022. I informed them that we didn't get the survey. We waited for them to send someone else out to complete it. It did seem to be taking a long time, but thought that it may have been because there was a lot of new construction going on in Kemptville at the time. When the RCVA called again for the survey, we called the surveyors again, and they sent out another surveyor in 2024. After several inquiries, we finally got the survey in April of 2025. And that's all documented in the section 2. It shows the, invoices to sort of back up what we're saying. And then there's in section 3, we're going to the application and the proposal. Since then, we got the survey. We've been working with the municipality of North Grenville to complete the application, which is in section 3A. We initially thought we may be able to keep the full edition, but it was made clear by the planning department of the municipality of North Grenville that they would not support this. Then in reviewing an email with the RVCA that's in section 3B, I recall that they indicated they may not support the carport, but the deck screened in would likely be approved. Our proposed modifications to the structure as it is now is based on this conversation with RVCA. And there's what was shown before by Amy is basically what we've got in the binder showing what we're looking at. Now, of course, we would rather maintain what is there. And if our neighbor has objection, we would be able to cut back a foot off the overhang. So there's no question of it being near his property. And we also existing now have a eaves trough. So for clear vision, I have enclosed in the binder that. Also, we've installed an eaves trough. It's in pictures in section 1D3 that runs the full length of the addition to prevent any runoff to the neighboring property, 1299. Our neighbor directly beside us, 1299, has not installed an eaves trough on his house, and it does not satisfy the interior yard setback. In addition, the neighboring's roof line is slanting towards our property. Although we would have to exercise greater caution getting out of the car with the carport gone, the covered deck and stairs would go a long way to keeping us keeping them free of snow and ice in the winter. Again, the picture in section 1A shows the direction of the wind coming off the water and why coverage is so important. We have a very small house with no basement, and therefore the auxiliary buildings we have give us much needed storage and workspace. Section 4, I went through trying to get precedents for what this situation that we're in. And as I'm sure everyone's aware, there's many incidences, and as Amy alluded to, of incidents of property issues and coverage over 15% along the Rideau River. We'd like to point out that we are in the wetlands, but as in section 4A, it shows we're in an area of reduced flood risk. So it's not the worst of it. Our neighbor's house, so just to give some examples of precedents, our neighbor's house is 1299. If you go to 4B, there's a copy of his survey which shows the original structure and the fact that an addition was put on. He does not have the required interior setback for the property line. The municipality has told us that it is either grandfathered in or by court order. The survey shows how the original house was squared off to add a section to the house in violation of the interior yard setback, indicating the court order allowance a variance of the 3-meter rule. So that's one example. Also, we have a photo of 296 Harris Road that indicates the garage is less than the setback, the 3-meter setback, sorry. Section 30.4.1, FEP special exception zones. They gave a variance for 3,900 Cedar Beach Lane to keep the existing structure, which is what we're hoping that we're allowed to do. And like I said, the overhang to cut off a foot of it to pacify our neighbor, we would be more than happy to do that. As well, for the carport, variance for exceeding lot coverage of 15% were granted for several properties. And I went through the section 5012 and found just like 3 of many at Maple Shore Drive, North Crest Private, and Rideau Crossing, just to name a few that they exceeded they went from 15% to 25%. We understand that an additional permit would be required to enclose the deck. We have no intention of going forward without first discussing with the municipality of North Grenville and the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority requirements for a permit. I think our lesson's been learned here. We've gone through this for 5 years. In section 5, now, we've been talking since the pandemic, my health has taken a turn for the worse. Among other issues, I suffer from progressing osteoarthritis. I am likely facing hip and knee surgery in this year or the next, making a slippery entrance to our home all the more hazardous. I have enclosed proof of my medical conditions for your consideration in section 5. In section 6, community support, we wanted to ensure our neighbors were on side with what we were doing and what we were proposing. And with the exception of those we've not been able to contact and the withdrawal of support from 1299, we have 100% community support on Hilly Lane South. For easy reference, I've recapped the community letters of support showing all the properties, and highlighted in yellow are those showing that this support. Those owners who were not able to contact are highlighted, and the owner at 1299 is partially highlighted as he initially supported the project, which is shown in 6B14, a letter signed by him, then withdrew support once it was completed. So if you go to section 6, you will see all that. The individual's letters of support are in that section 6 as well, from 1 to 18. And then in section 6C, we have from our meeting with the RVCA, highlighting that we may be able to screen in the porch. Although no promises were made by them at the time, we got the impression that the deck and deck cover would likely be able to stay, but that the carport would likely not be supported by them. We've based our proposal on this conversation. Should we not be allowed to keep the existing structure that's there now with the foot off the property, the neighbor's side? I just want to say we take pride in our little community and in our home, trying to make our best to make it presentable. Section 7, we wanted to address, lastly, we received a written notice of violation from the North Grenville Emergency and Protective Services Division stating fines upwards of $25,000 if we did not remove the entire structure by July 30th of this year. We are urgently requesting an extension to that deadline to deal with the outcome of this meeting. In conclusion, we respectfully request that you help us age in place and prepare us for the next stage of our lives with a positive approval today. And regardless of the outcome, I would like to thank the staff of North Grenville and the RVCA for assistance in getting us to this point in the process. So thanks, Amy and Debbie.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay.
Just stay where you are because
Yep.
council may have some questions. Any questions, council colleagues? Doreen, thank you. Councillor O'Sullivan, go ahead.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank you very much for the detailed presentation, all the facts and the explanation, and so clearly presented. Thank you. This evening. So thank you so much for that. How long have you lived in this property?
We bought it as a cottage, and we loved the location so much that we decided to make it our permanent home. We sold our house, we retired and sold our house in Ottawa and made it our permanent home in 20. We bought it in 2011, and then we moved there. Oh my gosh, I should know this.
You have all the other details.
Yeah, really. It's about 10, we've been there about 10
Yeah,
years.
that's-
About 10 years.
Okay, thank you. So the accessory buildings, were they already there or did you build?
There was one accessory building and one small shed that was there. And we just put siding on it to make it look better, you know? And then we had no room at all. A tiny little house, and we don't have any basement. And so we built, my husband built a workshop, which he loves. And then we built the other storage shed right beside it just to store stuff in, our furniture in the winter, our outdoor furniture in the winter, and my shoes.
Okay, thank you. And so this notice of violation, if you do not remove the entire structure by July 30th, what is that structure they're speaking of here?
They're talking about the overhang, like what we're looking for the variance for the deck and the overhang and the carpet, the whole thing. They wanted to take us to take it. That's my understanding. Am I right?
And is there a risk, a fire risk, or?
Well, there's certainly a risk of, our biggest problem was when we ended up, we couldn't go away. And the wind coming off the water, you probably don't have the diagram, it's brutal. Like that first year, there was ice and snow and it was terrible. Our stairs, ice, it was terrible.
And that's the only way in and out of your cottage? Okay.
Well, no,
Or
we
are
have
they-
a patio door, but it's worse because they're both north facing. So we get it both ways. That was worse. The one that faces the water directly is worse.
Okay.
I don't know if you have a copy of
I don't have a copy of it, but
yeah, so
I
the
understand
wind
it.
comes in off the water and
So-
so severe.
so I just wondered why the Emergency and Protective Services feel that this is dangerous and it has to
Maybe.
be removed.
I think Amy would have to address that. I'd have no idea. We can't figure it out either.
Perhaps, Councillor O'Sullivan, we can put that question to the Director of Planning,
Okay.
and then I'll go to Mayor Peckford, who's interested in asking a question.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor O'Sullivan. So in regards to bylaw services used to be under Emergency and Protective Services, so it is bylaw services that issued the notice of violation. The requirement would be that it only addressed the deck extension and the carport canopy. I can't unequivocally say that there isn't a risk in regards to fire or safety because there are no building permits for such. That's where the retroactive building permits are required to ensure that it meets building code, which standards are developed to ensure safety of occupants. In regards to the timeline, I just want to acknowledge that there is a end of July timeline for removal. If depending on the outcome of the committee's decision, that's certainly something that we would be open to discussing with the property owners in regards to should they remove the structures. We do acknowledge that an additional time may be needed. So willing to work with that. But part of it is waiting for the outcome of this evening. Should the committee support it, then that notice would be then to get to ensure that they get the building permits. So it would change in that sense to something a little different, but working together to find those solutions as we get a little more clarity through this process.
Does that answer your question, Councillor O'Sullivan? Do you have
yes.
another question?
Just this all started then because somebody complained about this carport canopy and the deck extension, and that's why bylaw went there and got involved. Is that correct then?
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor O'Sullivan, that is correct. We acted based on a complaint.
Okay. Mayor Peckford, you had a question. Go ahead.
Thank you. And I believe I can still be heard. Is that correct? Okay. I just want to thank the applicant. It's obvious this is a very stressful process, and it sounds like it's been many years of effort to try to ensure that the home was able to accommodate, I guess, yourself and your husband. My question is in terms of, I don't have the benefit of seeing the binder. I think you've distributed to other council colleagues. When you've canvassed other neighbors, and I understand you may have letters of support to that end, are they expressing support for things as they are right now, or for a modification, to, for example, the deck extension and modified canopy? If you could just elaborate on that particular aspect of the submissions you shared this evening with my council colleagues who are in the room.
They do, like from what the letter, if you, I don't know, you can look at the letter. They do support what's proposed, like what we have existing, whether or not, but like, yeah, I think they do. Everybody seems to. It's 100% support everyone we could contact supported us. Literally 100% of Hilly Lane South supported us, except for the neighbor that reported it, and the ones we couldn't get in touch with. Because there's a couple of B&Bs. There's some people are away working. One gentleman's away working up north, and others on vacation. But yeah, for the most part, yeah. 100% support for what we have now, because they walk by and they see our place. They see that we put a lot of effort into making it nice. We sided everything the same, like it's not all different things. We've sided it all so that it's all the same. The carport, the overhang, it's all sided the same way it is the house. And I think they see that. I know some of my neighbors are here tonight to support us, and they can see, they walk by, they can see how much effort we put into our property, and we look after it very well. And yeah, so I would have to say yes, I would to that.
Thank you. And if just one more question, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch your first name, so I
Joan,
apologize.
I'm Joan.
Hi, Joan.
Joan. Hi.
So, and I think council hasn't had the benefit of going through the binder that you brought this evening, so I'll defer to the chair in terms of how he wants to manage that. But in your presentation, you spoke of the potential of possibly modifying, I guess, the canopy and the deck in order
No,
to. Is that correct? Yeah.
Just the canopy.
Just the
not
canopy.
deck. Yeah, just the canopy. If we were to do the deck, it would just, it would be, it's only 6 feet, it's a little over 6 feet. It's not a big area. So it's the canopy, which is the carport. I consider it a carport because that's what we used it for. We used it to keep the area clear. So like I've said, I've had health issues to be able to get out of the car comfortably without ice or snow being there was the purpose. So that's our goal, would be ultimately to try and keep that. Like I said, there is a 1 foot overhang that we could remove to, and we're hoping satisfy our neighbor that it's not anywhere near us on his property. So, that's what the hope is, but we are prepared because we still have to go through the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority as well. And we're hoping for the best on this. So whatever happens, but yeah. The really important thing, I think, the most important thing for our safety in terms of just being able to get into our home is the deck. The wind's coming off from the water, that deck stops we have a glass up, and the wind stops, it stops the wind from actually accumulating ice and snow right by our doorway. So that's why that deck, apart from the fact that we like the deck, I won't say we don't, but apart from that, it helps to prevent that ice and snow buildup around the doorway. I mean, it's not 100%, but it helps a lot. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for clarifying this. I appreciate it, Joan. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
before I go to Councillor Strachian, just for the mayor's benefit, we've had the binder just for as long as as the meeting has been open. I've had a chance to glance at it, and it's gone to Councillor Strachian and Councillor Wilson, but Councillor O'Sullivan hasn't seen it yet. So perhaps after your question, Councillor Strachian, we can share that binder with Councillor O'Sullivan, and go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, through you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you very much for your presentation. Unfortunately, because we did not have the binder to review, and I don't consider this reviewing during the meeting, I think we can't serve you best with the information that you provided because it was more of an oral submission and you've said quite a bit. So I personally would like to have time to review this completely in order to have your background on the circumstances. So that would be my thoughts on a potential delay in the decision or recess. My other question would be to Director Martin. Regarding the accessory structures, given that 2 were existing, is there any possibility of considering those as grandfathered into the system because they were there when the property was purchased by the current owners? Is there capacity to consider that, those structures in particular?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Strachian. We have no permits or any records of any of the structures being located on the property, whether it's from the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority or ourselves, and no evidence was submitted as to the timeline as exactly when some of the older structures may be established. And I do recognize that the property owners have only been the owners since 2011. So in that regard, it would really depend. If I'd have to look at if we had evidence as to when they were placed on the property, as to whether they have grandfather status, would depend on what the zoning rules that were in place at the time that they were placed on the property. So as such, I can't provide an opinion on them as to whether they enjoy that status, as I haven't been able to find any information that gives me a timeline to when they may have been put on the property, recognizing that it may have been before the current owners of the property. But it doesn't mean that the previous owner would have necessarily gotten the appropriate permissions either. So it's just really difficult to determine that. So our approach has always been to treat it as if we can't determine the timeline of when they were added, and we don't have any permit approvals. So they're falling within this area of, this area of variance. They are permitted one accessory structure, but not three under the current zoning rules. So it's something that, the committee can consider as to how they move forward.
Thank you.
A question for you, Ms. Martin. The notice of violation that is due or it comes into effect end of this month, are we able to grant an extension without deliberating on this current Committee of Adjustment request? In other words, I get the suggestion from Councillor Strachan that there might be an appetite to defer this matter, but obviously we won't be able to get together with another Committee of Adjustment until sometime in August.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for the question. So certainly we would bring this information back to the issuing officer of the notice of violation and discuss an extension. We can extend notice of violations given the circumstances. Should the committee choose to defer the matter to our August 13th meeting, that would be something that we would inform bylaw services of. And I'm not the issuing officer, but certainly I think a conversation could allow for an extension to get us to the next meeting should the committee wish to defer.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from council to the applicant? Are there people here speaking, other people who would like to speak for or against the application? Come on down and state your name. Thanks, Joan. Don't go away. We'll probably be asking you some more questions later. Just make sure the mic is on and state your name and address, please, for the record.
Good evening. My name is Alan Dixon, and I live at 1299 Hilly Lane. All right. And I share a common property line with the applicants of this minor variance request. My main concern is if this variance was to be allowed, my house was engineered, designed when it was built to have all waters drained from the footing area and prevent freezing of the foundation, the footings. My foundation, it's a 6-foot poured concrete wall, sits on styrofoam on the surface of the ground. Prior to the construction of the carport covered deck, the drainage ditch was centered on the property line. In order for the carport to fit beside their house, they needed to impede on my property to install the footings for the support of the carport. And construction of the carport, the drainage ditch was centered on the property line, and in order for the carport to fit beside their house, they needed to impede on the property to install the footings and use a retaining wall to secure the structure. They proceeded to move the center of the swale closer to my foundation and remove their half of the swale altogether and replacing it with a retaining wall. I'm hoping these photos, I have a few photos, will give you a better understanding of the situation. I truly believe that if an application for a building permit would have taken place, it would not have been granted due to these conditions. This matter has been brought to the attention of North Grenville Planning Board as well as the RVCA for many years now, and I'm hoping the situation can be rectified. Thank you.
Any questions from council colleagues for Mr. Dixon? Is it Dixon? Yes. No. So my question is, your main concern is about the carport and how it was constructed. Is that true? Do you have any objection to the
part that's on my property of the carport?
Yes, okay. And the deck and the additional dwelling, additional structures on the property? Do you have
The
an objection
footings
to
are,
those?
the footings are on my side of the line, as well as their fence. And the retaining wall is 2.5 feet on my side of the property.
Okay,
So that swale has been brought closer to my footings, which are sitting right there on top of the ground.
okay. But the additional structures on the property, the accessory structures, do you have any objection to those?
No,
Uh,
no.
So it's mainly the deck
Deck carport.
and carport. Okay. Ms. Martin, in preparing this, did you manage to take a look at the surveys to confirm what Mr. Dixon is saying?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So the building location survey that was provided by the applicant shows the footing of one of the pillars supporting the canopy being 0.04 centimeters off the property line. So just on the inside of the property of 1297 Hilly Lane. It did not show any of the structures going over and exceeding. The fence is not on the survey, so I can't speak to the fence. But as for the canopy and the accessory structures, they were all contained on the property, although 0.04 meters, so 4 centimeters off, based on the survey that was prepared by a qualified surveyor within the province of Ontario.
Okay, so Mr. Dixon, the canopy seems to be on your property,
The
or one of the
roof line.
footings.
The
Yeah.
roof line is a little bit
Yeah.
over. I have a drawing here that shows the retaining wall is definitely beyond their property line.
Yeah. And in terms of the deck itself, the screen, the deck,
The deck itself, no, just the support posts,
okay,
more or less, and the roof.
okay. You mentioned drainage issue, but I understand from the applicant they have eaves trough on
With the
that.
downspout right on the corner. So all the water just spills off in one spot instead of all along.
I see. But that's easy to correct.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions from council colleagues before I close the public part of this meeting?
Can I-
And then council will deliberate on the resolution.
Okay, can I have them take a look at these pictures?
Yeah, sure,
Definitely shows what I'm talking about.
Thanks, Debbie. Is there anybody else besides Mr. Dixon who would like to speak for or against the proposal? Certainly. We'll circulate those photos and, if you want, after Joan is up, if you want to come back, we will entertain that. But Joan, if you want to come up and address through the microphone, that would be the way we'll proceed. Thanks.
I'm not sure where he's, so first of all, a year after we bought the property, there was, I don't know what he's talking about, a drainage ditch, because a year after we bought the property, there was a line of trees, which was the property line. We came one weekend and he'd cut them all down. The retaining wall that he's discussing, we put up together because we thought it was, when we worked with him to determine where the property line was, and according to the survey, which you have a copy of, his survey, it looked like we were 2 feet, we were where we were going to put up the canopy was 2 feet from the property line. So what we did is we put up just something to hold the ground in place. So it, like, the fact that the drainage ditch, first of all, it's not a drainage ditch, and I don't know where he's getting that from, because it was just a row of trees when we moved there, which he cut down against our wishes. And then this sort of hole was left there, and I guess that's what he's referring to as a drainage ditch, but it's just a gully. And on our property, we have put up eaves trough all along to make sure that nothing drained on his property. And you'll see I took a picture, it's in the binder, that shows the eaves trough and the downspout going onto our property. Him, on the other hand, he doesn't have the proper setback either. And he has no eaves trough, and his house drains, like the slant of the roof is right onto us. So I'm not sure where he's getting his information from. And I don't know about with the pictures, what he did is he took a string and took pictures and said that's the property line, but we have the survey. He doesn't have a survey showing what he's saying. And we have a survey, as Amy alluded to, that shows where the property line is. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, just
Anything
Ms.
else?
Martin has confirmed that at least one footing is probably not on your.
It's a quarter of an inch, like it's an inch maybe. I
Okay.
think it's 0.7 inches, an inch.
And this is
That's
the carport.
Yeah,
Carport. Yeah.
that's one of the pillars of the carport, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and if we, depending if it happened that we did have to cut it back, that wouldn't be an issue because that's the part that we're cutting back, so,
Great.
okay?
Thank you.
Thanks.
We're anxious to get into deliberating the issue. So unless there's any other comments, I'm looking to close the public part of this meeting, and then council will start deliberating on the motion. Oh, okay. No, you'll have to come down and speak just so we can have it on the record. Thank you very much. Yeah. You get a comfy chair and a microphone. Just state your name and your address.
My
Thanks.
name's Deborah Healy. My address is 1305 Hilly Lane. I'm so happy that they're our neighbors. They're great neighbors. When they bought that place, well, it was an older cottage. They completely redid it inside and out. It's absolutely lovely. Their property is always clean. They don't put anything on the other side of the road, which I'm going to complain to Rideau Valley about because some people think they own the other side of the road, and that was gifted to the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority by a family from Kempville to remain as a forest. People have taken it over, such as our other neighbor here, who has old stuff piled up on that side. He probably doesn't have pictures of that, but there's all kinds of junk there. An old RV somebody had that painted black and green and all these colors, and just in general junk that's back there that we all have to look after.
I'm going to cut you off and ask you to just stick to the matter at hand, which is this application for.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't think anyone has any objection to the minor variance.
Great.
Okay, that's,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
All right. If there's no one else, I'm going to close the public meeting, and we'll deliberate the resolution. So we'll read the resolution and get it on the table, and then council will deliberate. Thank you. So I'm looking for a mover and a seconder for this original motion that the Committee of Adjustment not approve permission from section 30.2 of the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 50-12 to permit a maximum lot coverage of 24% from 15%, a reduced interior side yard setback from 3 meters to 0.06 meters, to increase the minimum required front yard setback from 20 meters to 4.6 meters, and section 6.30.1 CII to increase the number of accessory structures from 1 to 3. So that's the motion that we've been provided by Ms. Martin. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to get this on the table, and then we can deliberate. Okay. So moved by Councillor Stracher-Yan, seconded by Councillor Wilson. Okay, council. That's the motion that's been presented to us, but there's lots, as I said at the beginning, lots of moving parts. So, we do have a lot of options in terms of whether we go forward, not approving the entire motion, or whether we pick it apart and approve some and not the others. Councillor Strakian.
Given that we have information that has come to us late in the game and that we have not had adequate time to review, I would request a deferral, please.
Yes. Sorry. Thank you. Mayor Peckford.
I would second Councillor Strakian's motion to defer. I believe she's moving to defer.
Madam Clerk, do we have to defeat this motion before we entertain a deferral, or can we go straight to a deferral?
I was asking myself the same question, Mr. Chair. So no, you can go straight to the deferral.
Great. So we've got a motion on the table from Councillor Strakian, seconded by Mayor Peckford, to defer. Before I call the question, once again, I'd like to hear from Director Martin regarding this notice of violation, whether a deferral today to August 13th, whether the protective services could be informed of the decision today, and whether it's likely, or I guess you can't weigh in on how they'll decide, but it's likely that I'm hoping that they'll extend it. So as part of the deferral, maybe the motion could be a request for the North Grenville Emergency and Protective Services to extend that notice.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So certainly we have extended notices of violations in the past when it's been evidence that we are working towards trying to gain compliance. And in this case, it would be reasonable to extend the timeline out. As to what that date is, I will have to talk to the issuing officer to determine what that is. I also want to note for the committee that if you are deferring under the Planning Act, you have to identify when the matter is to return back to the Committee of Adjustment. Our next meeting is August 13th for planning matters. So I just wanted to flag that for you as you're deliberating. From my opinion, I don't think it's necessary to add in that request. It's something that I have heard at this table and can reasonably take back to our manager of bylaw services to discuss with the members of bylaw services who issued the order.
Great. Thank you very much. Then I'll call the question. All in favor?
I do.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I can ask my question subsequent to the vote.
I'm sorry. Say again. Madam Mayor?
I have a question, but I can ask it subsequent to the vote. So carry on.
Okay. So we've got a mover and a seconder, and I'm calling the question. Unless Councillor Strakian has something to say before I call the question.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Based on what Director Martin has said, I would like to see this returning as soon as possible. I think we just need a bit of time to be able to review the information that has been submitted to us tonight. So August 13th, I believe, is what Director Martin is saying is the next meeting for planning consideration. So August 13th seems like a reasonable time frame to me.
So that'll be part of the motion then. Seconded it. Okay.
Deputy Mayor and Chair,
Yes.
I just want to follow up in regards to what Ms. Martin is saying. So I understand that she's going to bring the request for an extension back to bylaw, and I presume on the basis of a non-decision this evening that there would be no reason for bylaw to not extend the order at this time, right? There would be no reason that bylaw wouldn't proceed in that direction. I just want to be clear that I've understood Ms. Martin correctly.
Can you confirm that, Ms. Martin?
Through Deputy Mayor to Her Worship, that is correct. We do take into consideration the fact that this matter is still being deliberated by the committee, and that additional time is needed to review information that was provided this evening. Again, as it's not my name on the order, I feel pretty confident that the issuing officer would provide that extension to allow for the matter to be heard at the August 13th meeting.
Mayor Peckford, you satisfied with that?
Yes, that's helpful. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. So the motion that we're about to vote on includes a request to have it returned on August 13th. Right, great. So, having said that, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody. I suspect we'll see some of you back on August 13th. And I think maybe we'll declare a little break so we can change hats and start the council meeting in a few minutes. Let's say, oh, adjourn. Yes, thank you very much. Where am I here? Okay, so I need a mover and a seconder to adjourn this meeting, the Committee of the Adjustment meeting. Councillor O'Sullivan, seconded by Councillor Wilson. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Take a 5-minute break. Is that enough time, everybody? Okay. See you in 5 minutes. Good evening, everyone. We've just concluded a Committee of Adjustment hearing, and now we're moving on to council meeting number 37, it looks like, July 16th. And I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:59. And before we begin tonight's meeting, I'm going to look to a colleague to read our land acknowledgement. Councillor Wilson, thank you.
The municipality of North Grenville acknowledges that the municipality operates on the territory of the Anishinaabe. We recognize all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people who now call North Grenville their home. We respect and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship, and we commit to Indigenous-informed decision-making to foster the path towards reconciliation.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilson. And before I begin, I'm going to read a few notices that have been prepared by staff, and just to let everyone know that Mayor Peckford is traveling and she's attending virtually. You can see her way up there, looking over our shoulder, making sure we're doing everything correctly. I'll be getting notes on tonight's meeting, I'm sure. This Friday, members of council will be participating in two exciting events that highlight the character, heritage, and entrepreneurial spirit of North Grenville. First, at 11:30 a.m., we'll join MPP Steve Clark at the dedication ceremony for the restored historic murals at the Fat Les Building on County Road 44. These two iconic pieces honor Graham's Bakery and the B. Baird Water Conditioning Company, and are a tribute to local history, family legacy, and civic pride. Special thanks to the Les Winters family, Heather South Papazi, Beth Donovan Hospice, and the North Grenville Historical Society for helping bring these pieces of public art to their new home. And then from 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., residents are invited to attend the grand opening of Valley Sports at 31 Clothier Street East, with council attending for ribbon cutting at 1 p.m. Founded by local entrepreneurs Mitch Langford and Tia Boone, Valley Sports brings new energy and much needed bike and sporting goods services to our downtown. Everyone is welcome to come by and show their support. It's great to have a new bike store in town. We've been missing one for a while. I'll be there. Don't forget, North Grenville's third annual Communities in Bloom photo contest is open until August 15th. This year's theme is Edible Gardens, and we're encouraging residents to showcase their creativity with fruits, vegetables, herbs, and more. The contest is part of our larger Communities in Bloom campaign, with provincial judges visiting August 13th and 14th. Initiatives like Bloom Bingo, gardening kits at the library, and the Business Bloom Awards are some of the other great ways to get involved. And finally, coming this weekend, Kempful Brewing Company will host its inaugural Summer Social, a celebration of local craft beer, live music, and community sport right here in Kempful at the brewery on Town Line Road at Van Buren, featuring a relaxed backyard vibe, great food, and a showcase of local and regional talent. The Summer Social promises to be a fun and festive gathering for residents and visitors alike. Congratulations to the team at KBC for launching what we hope will become a new summer tradition in North Grenville. And now let's get to tonight's agenda. Actually, before we do that, we have a new sign downtown that we just erected, and it welcomes people to downtown Kempful. It's right at the apex of Rideau and Saunders. So it's great to see that up, identifying downtown Kempful. Before I go to the adoption agenda, we also have to rise and report on a closed meeting. So at our special meeting on July 14th, 2025, Council discussed applications received under the Mental Health Fund Initiatives Policy. As a result of the discussion that occurred in closed session, a motion will rise tonight, this evening, under item J.1 of the agenda for Council's consideration and deliberation. Council also held a second special meeting on July 14th for the purpose of Council training. Now we move on to the adoption of the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the agenda? And I'll be looking for a mover and a seconder for adoption of the agenda. Councillor O'Sullivan moves, seconded by Councillor Strakian. Any changes or comments about the agenda? So I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Any declarations of pecuniary interests from members of council? Anything on the agenda? No? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Now we're into the public meeting. Council will now hold a public meeting to consider an application for lands located at 503 James Street, part of William Fannin Lot on Plan 11. And this is an application to change from residential first density to residential third density exception with a holding R3-30-H. Okay. To establish 26 townhouse units split over 3 blocks. In addition, each townhouse would have a purpose-built additional residential unit located within. I must advise you that this meeting is your opportunity to voice any objections or concerns you may have with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. If an appellant does not provide oral submissions at this public meeting or written submissions before council adopts the proposed amendment, the Ontario Lands Tribunal may refuse to consider their objections. Any persons who wish further notice of the council's decision concerning this matter should give their full name, address, and postal code to the planner following adjournment of this public meeting. Are there people here for this public meeting? Okay, if so, thank you. I'll now pass the meeting over to Director Amy Martin. Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. If we advance to the next slide. So the property before council this evening is seeking a rezoning is 503 James Street. The application is requesting to rezone the property from the residential first density zone to the residential third density zone with an exception and a holding provision. So the effect of the application would be to allow the property to be redeveloped to allow the construction of 26 units with 26 additional residential units included. Next slide, please. The property is located, this is our zoning schedule. As you can see, it is just south of County Road 43. It's just off James Street. There is an unopened road allowance that is proposed to be opened and connect Jones Street through. If we go to the next slide, you'll see the official plan designation as well. So the property is designated residential under our official plan, although past use of the property has been for a contractor yard and storage. So it had a kind of a historical commercial use. Surrounding land uses in the area, there is commercial located to the north, which is includes the Ultramar and some businesses and some vacant commercial land. And the majority of the area around the property would be residential. There is some medium density residential on Jones Street with the Shalom Small Homes townhomes that have gone in. So there is some gentle densification already happening within the area. Next slide, please. So here's the proposed site plan for the property, and I'm just going to take a few moments just to speak through the application and looking at the merits and providing some just additional details that are within our staff report. So as mentioned, it would establish 26 units, townhouse units with an additional residential unit in each. The gross density of the development is 33 units per hectare, which is in line with our density provisions within the official plan. The applicant is proposing to commit 10% of the townhouse units to be affordable rates as defined by CMHC for a period of 10 years. This would amount to 3 units being guaranteed as affordable. Additionally, 15% of the units will be designed as barrier-free units. Subject to a future site plan control agreement, which would be a provision of the holding, is where we would entrench the terms of affordability or barrier-free units, as well as the overall site how the site would be developed would be within the agreement. We do have a site plan application that has been submitted, but until such a time that the zoning in place, the application has been deemed incomplete. Staff are satisfied that the proposed development is considered infill and intensification and meets those policies. And a neighborhood character statement was provided as part of the submission to demonstrate how it is compatible with the surrounding area. There are plans to exceed the minimum parking requirements and have additional visitor parking available and marked. The requirement under the zoning bylaw is 52 spaces. However, 66 vehicle parking spaces are being provided and 28 bicycle parking spaces are also proposed. I would like to note that there's also a central park style area between the development and the buildings. You can see that in the middle of the site plan, which fulfills the requirement for amenity space on the property. A record of site condition is being processed currently by the ministry, but we have not received the final results of that submission. So given that the property was previously used as a commercial operation, there are requirements under the Environmental Protection Act to do a record of site condition when you go from a commercial use down to a more sensitive land use, which includes residential. Next slide, please. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into all of the policy considerations this evening. They were included and detailed within the report, but staff are confident and do recommend that the proposed development is consistent with the provincial planning statement. And the next few slides just details the policies that are relevant for the site's development. Next slide, please. And we'll just move on to the next slide. In regard to development, we also have to look at the United Counties official plan for consistency with their policies, and the county's official plan policies align with those of the provincial planning statement. And staff are confident and recommend that the proposed development meets the intent and the policy considerations under the United Counties official plan. Next slide, please. We also have our own official plan here in North Grenville that dictates how development is to occur within our municipality. It is staff's opinion that the proposed development meets the policy considerations within our own official plan, as it promotes an appropriate mix of residential and supportive uses, including those localized community facilities for the residents of the development, and also provides some new connection points through Jones Street, connecting through Jones to James. So we're creating new opportunities for more connectivity within this area. Next slide, please. So I did want to note that this property has been allocated capacity, and it was allocated in 2 separate installments. This would amount to 20 townhouse dwelling units and 20 additional residential units being able to be serviced. We received a letter of no objection from Enbridge Gas, noting the rights to reserve the right to amend or remove development conditions. I also note that this property is exempted from our interim control bylaw, which council passed at our last meeting in June. Next slide, please. So staff are recommending that as part of the zoning amendment, we implement a holding symbol. This would require the execution of a site plan control agreement where we would address matters such as facilities, servicing, and just general development and civil engineering. It would also look at providing the provisions for the extension of municipal services at the cost of the developer, provide for the affordability piece, as mentioned earlier in the meeting, provide a dedication of land for road widening purposes, and the provision of the record of site condition. As mentioned, we're still waiting on the outcome of those results from the ministry. I do want to note that as part of the submission for the site plan and the zoning bylaw amendment, there were a series of studies that were provided, and those are outlined within the staff report that were reviewed in support of. And many of the departments involved within our development review process will typically reserve more of their more detailed comments for the site plan process as we go through to ensure that they meet municipal standards from a planning and engineering perspective. Next slide, please. So it is staff's recommendation that council approve the application to rezone the property from the residential first density zone to the residential third density zone, exception 30 holding. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. The committee will now hear from the applicant, followed by members of the public who wish to speak either for or against the proposal. Following any comments from the public, the applicant will be offered an opportunity to respond to questions raised. All persons wishing to address the proposal will ask their questions through myself, the chair. Please state your name, address, and postal code prior to addressing the committee. Committee members may also wish to ask questions through the chair to those making presentations. So we're ready to hear from the applicant. Please state your name for the record when you turn on the mic. Thanks.
Hello, My name is Samuel Hirschhorn. I'm one of the directors at Biosis Real Estate Development, and we are leading this development process. My address, I am currently located at 47 Bishop Court in Guelph, Ontario, N1G2R8. But the property in question at 503 James Street, we recently purchased and are taking through this planning process. Thank you very much, Amy and planning staff, for that very detailed report. I don't have much to add to that report. It is very thorough and comprehensive, so I'm going to keep my statement relatively brief here. Good evening, Mayor Petford, members of council, planning staff, and members of the community. I want to extend my sincere thanks to the municipality of North Grenville for the opportunity to speak with you today. It's an honor to be here to present our proposal to rezone the site at 503 James Street in Kemptville, a proposal we believe will become a meaningful addition to the town's urban fabric and its future. My partners and I, having lived in Ottawa for many years, had heard great things about Kemptville. So when the opportunity came along to purchase this lot, we were very interested. But it wasn't until we were given a tour by our realtor, Krista George, that we came to realize that there is something very special here in this town. Kemptville offers a rare blend of small town warmth, rich history, and a natural beauty that's hard to find anywhere else. From the character of the heritage of the old town to the vibrant Sunday farmers market, there's a real sense of community here that drew us in from the start. Between the trails, parks, soccer fields, and hockey rinks, there's no shortage of things to do. And as someone who has 2 young kids, I can appreciate that there's activities for parents and young families. It's an amazing thing to see. And it really, we understood from the get-go why people are moving here and why they're staying. It's a wonderful place to call home. And that's the spirit we hope to honor and to support with our project by building much needed housing that will enhance the quality of life and reinforce the strong connections that make Kemptville an extraordinary place to live. Our team at Biosis Real Estate Development has spent the past year working on that vision, and we believe it hits the mark in supporting the town's growth goals while remaining sensitive to the local context, the community needs, and the quality of life. We are proposing a thoughtfully designed stacked townhouse development that will consist of 26 townhouse units, each paired with a 1-bedroom accessory suite. These secondary units are fully integrated into the design and will offer more affordable housing options for young professionals, seniors, or extended family members. In terms of infrastructure, we've provided ample parking with 66 spaces, which ensures that residents and guests alike will have adequate parking. We've also included secure bike parking for those who like to ride. And one of the most exciting features of this project is the centrally located play area. We hope to design and install a playground structure to promote that active living and to share an outdoor amenity space that is attractive to all generations. Our commitment extends beyond just building homes. We are dedicated to sustainable development practices, including energy and efficient construction, effective stormwater management strategies, and responsible material choices that reduce environmental impact while enhancing the building's longevity. But beyond the physical attributes of the project, our vision is rooted in collaboration, quality, and community integration. We believe this development will support local businesses, increase housing supply, and help meet the growing demands for rentals in Kemptville. Most importantly, we see this project as a step towards improving the overall quality of life for the broader community. By having a diverse range of housing in a walkable, connected, and family-friendly setting, we're helping to shape a future where more people can call Kemptville home. We are proud to be part of this next chapter for 503 James Street, and we look forward to continuing to work closely with town staff, council, and local residents to bring this vision to life. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Hirschhorn. I'll open it up now to questions from council. I have a couple of questions actually for Ms. Martin. The application has current capacity for 20 units and 20 additional units, but it has capacity for 20, but they're looking for 26 units. I don't understand the discrepancy there.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd have to go back and review the capacity allocation, as I'm certain that they've also applied for additional capacity for a more recent round to get them to the full 26. I'm not certain if the Director of Public Works has that information handy through his engineering technologist. But yeah, I can get that clarification. Ultimately, they wouldn't be able to build if they didn't have capacity for those number of units.
So this is just a zoning application, but go ahead. Mr. Hirschon, you've got a colleague who might be able to shed some light on that. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Graham Potter with Biosis Real Estate, 129 Mill Street, Frankfurt. I can speak to that. We worked closely with Nick Shepard, and we received the partial capacity allocation in Q3 of 24 and the remaining in Q1 of 25. So we now have the full capacity allocation for all 26 townhomes plus the 26 additional units.
Great. Thanks for that clarification. And the 26 townhomes are in 2 blocks, not 3?
That's correct.
Right.
As shown in the site
Yeah,
plan.
yeah, I saw that. Okay, great. Madam Mayor, go ahead. You have a question.
Thanks, appreciate it, and welcome to the development team. I'm sorry I didn't catch both of your names, but certainly I think I had the occasion to meet one, if not both of you, fleetingly when you were initially looking to build in Kemptville. So just a couple of questions. I'm assuming that these townhouses you're building with sort of the fully enclosed but separate ARUs are townhomes for purchase where the new property owner would have the opportunity to rent the fully approved compliant ARU as part of their home ownership. Is that correct? Have I understood that correctly?
No, our plan is to retain all of them and to rent them to family units.
Okay, so you would have a townhome and an ARU, an additional residential unit within each structure, if you will. So you have, so effectively you have 2 residential units within one townhouse. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and the townhouses, sort of the larger of the 2 units in the townhouse would be a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom. What are you envisioning?
We have
Through
a
you,
mix.
Chair. Thank you.
We have a mix of 2 plus dens and 3-bedroom units. Yeah.
Okay. And all of the additional residential units foreseen for each of the town homes would be 1-bedroom. Did I hear that correctly?
The accessory units would be a 1-bedroom unit, correct?
Okay, excellent. Okay, wonderful. And then another question I have is in regards to that commitment for the affordable units. Obviously, we appreciate your consideration of that. I just wondered, I assume that and maybe this is a question for Ms. Martin, I assume the agreement that you would enter into would be with the municipality versus Canada Housing Mortgage Corporation, or is it your intent to pursue CMHC funding for the overall development?
It would be both.
Okay. Of course, if you received Canada Mortgage Housing Corporation funding, you would be bound to their rules of engagement, right? Which I think compels you to build a minimum of 10%. If that doesn't transpire, then you would be, and I assume through you, Chair, to Ms. Martin, then we would be entering into that agreement with you. Is that the case? And maybe I can ask Ms. Martin. I can't see her, but I know she's there.
Through
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, through you, Deputy Mayor, to Her Worship. So certainly, when there's CMHC funding, we do try to we do recognize through the agreement process that they're bound by the terms of CMHC and formalize it through that. Should they not be recipients of CMHC funding, but they have other lenders, we do try to work within the terms of their financial agreements to ensure that we're not further encumbering them, but that we still ensure that the 10% requirement as identified as part of the zoning amendment and what's being provided is included as part of the site plan agreement. So it's that recognition that it's to be provided for a 10-year period. We do our best to work to ensure that we don't encumber your financial agreements that you might have, because there are certain procedures that have to be followed under that. But it's just another way that we capture that a percentage of these units will be provided affordable within the community, and what period of time that is set for.
Thank you.
Chair, do
Councillor
you have a
Singh.
couple of other questions, but I can defer to others before asking them. So.
Okay, I'll have you, you're second on the speakers list. We're going to Councillor Stark again.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm a big fan of infill housing. I think this is a very appropriate use of that space, and there's a nice layout to it. So thank you very much, and thank you for including the ARUs as part of the planning at this stage. My question is for Director Martin regarding the wellhead protection area. I see that there are some with a score of 10 and some with a score of 6, 6 being better than 10, correct? So just wondering if there's a percentage of how much is in the 10 area and what that means for associated risks to the particular wellhead in question.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Strachan. So I don't have the breakdown of the percentage of units that are within the 10 versus the 6 rating. There is a municipal well quite close to the property. From a vulnerability perspective, residential uses typically rate quite low from a risk perspective. They'd still be required to work with, Mississippi Rio Valley to ensure that there is no potential for contamination. Where more so we see the risk factors come into play is more so for like the commercial, like heavier type uses, where there's potential of where there could be some contamination to our waterways. But typically a residential use is considered quite low risk based on the activity that happens within those developments. Perhaps after the meeting, I could look at the site plan and the scoring and provide yourself with a breakdown as to how many units are in versus the 10 versus the 6. But ultimately that residential use is considered quite low risk.
If I may follow up, Deputy Mayor, the additional question I would have regarding the wellhead protection area is whether or not the road area is considered what level of risk and so on, or if that is part of the area that's zoned as, or that has a score of 10 as well.
Through Deputy Mayor, I can provide that clarification to the member of council post-meeting. If there are any requirements in regards to the construction, we do work really closely with the RVCA to ensure all permits are taken and all risks are considered. And if there was a concern as part of that construction process, there would be a risk mitigation plan that would be established through the Conservation Authority, through their source water protection team. So it's certainly something that we will have conversation over as we work through that process. And the site plan agreement would also acknowledge if there's any additional permitting required, that they're required to obtain that prior to any construction.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you again for your indulgence, Deputy Mayor and Chair. So back to the team. I'm obviously, I think we're all delighted to see that you're planning for a play structure or play area accommodating multiple ages. I don't have a sense of the size of the Central Park facility of which you speak, and unfortunately I don't have the benefit of the PowerPoint, so I can't visualize it on your site plan or your preliminary drawings. Could you just speak to the size of that area? And also, I presume if you retain ownership of these units in full, then you have every intention to maintain the play structure or play facility or park area. We've seen in some other developments that after a number of years, where the best intention of developers is to provide a gathering area, a Central Park space for residents in newer neighborhoods, that sometimes they're abandoned or neglected. I don't presume that this would be the case, just given your ownership model, which is to retain ownership, but I'd be pleased to hear a little more about your plans, and I'm grateful, I think, to the clerk's office for putting the proposed site plan up on the screen. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for your question. It's a great question, and part of the reason why we want to retain ownership over the entire site is so that we can deliver a higher level of service through our partnerships with a property management company. The play area itself, it's not huge. I believe it's, I can't quite remember what the exact dimensions are. I think it was something like 7 meters by 20 meters deep. It's large enough for a small play structure and potentially some benches. The next phase of our design efforts will be to bring on a specialist consultant to design this area. Our landscape architects have dedicated some space to it. And then we do have a swale, which you can see to the east, on the east-hand side. This is required for our drainage and stormwater management, but we hope to integrate that swale as kind of an aesthetic feature next to adjacent to the park, or the playground rather.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
One more question for follow-up.
Sure, go ahead.
And just curious to know what motivates you overall to retain ownership of these units. Typically and historically in North Grenville, we've seen an appetite to develop residential units, single detached dwellings, townhomes, what have you, and then sell them for purchase. Obviously, you have a business model that's a little bit different. Wondering if you've done this elsewhere in Ottawa or in other parts of Ontario, and what's motivating you to build in this way?
So we do have a few other projects in the Ottawa area. We are a relatively new company, so we don't have a lot of experience to draw on in this matter, but we recognize that the need for rental housing is becoming more and more prevalent throughout Ontario. We want to be the providers of that rental housing, and we want to maintain the highest quality standards for that rental housing. The model, which is, I believe you're referring to, is almost like a condo model where you're splitting the units up and selling to investors who then rent it out themselves. You lose the standards because every ownership model has a different standard that they manage their rentals to. And that, to us, leaves the door open to a varying degree of quality when it comes to the housing that's being put on the market. We would rather have control over that so that all of the units in this area are well maintained, the tenants are properly vetted, and that we can manage this at a scale that allows us to bring on a competent property manager. The smaller, duplex, triplex, fourplexes, they're too small for a larger, more established property management company to come in and do economically. So it tends to fall to the mom and pops to either self-manage or they hire the Kijiji managers, the ones who don't have stellar reputations and kind of are just juggling things the way they see fit. It leaves us wanting for proper landlords to actually administer these rental properties in the way that they should be.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your answers.
So just to confirm, you intend to maintain ownership. It's not a question of selling these units off.
That is correct.
Okay. A question for Ms. Martin. I just want to confirm that all costs related to extending Jones Street will be borne by the developer?
That is correct. Yep, okay. And that's part of the site plan negotiation process as to what that looks like.
Great. Any other questions from council colleagues? Yes, Councillor O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I have two questions. One is about the Jones Street, just to follow up on that. Is there a sidewalk on this new Jones Street? Kind of looks like it, but I'm not 100% sure. But for connection and active transportation, I think hope it's there.
Yes, there are no sidewalks in the neighborhood, but that was a request from staff was to include a sidewalk. So there is a sidewalk included on the north side of the proposed road.
Great, thank you very much. And then my other question is regarding the 10% deemed affordable, that turns out to be 5 units. So I'd like to know, what is the mix of that? Would they be 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, or a mix? Because there are families who need the affordable housing, as well as individuals who may want the smaller units or 1 or 2 bedrooms. So I mean, it's only 5 units, which is definitely better than none, but how is that going to be broken up? That what's available as an affordable?
We agree. We would love all of our units to be affordable, or categorized as affordable. The requirement is just based on per unit. It doesn't, the CMHC definition anyhow, does not distinguish between the number of bedrooms in the unit. So typically it's the 1-bedroom units that end up being the affordable ones.
Well, we do have families who may need a 2 or 3 bedroom unit that's deemed affordable too. So I would like to see if there could be more of a mix and not just the ARUs that are deemed affordable for rent.
That's understandable. The definition is, I think I would say, fairly crude in that all it considers is the price of the unit and not who's renting it or how big it is. But we're certainly open to having the larger units as affordable as well, some of those, because we understand people, you say families need places to live, don't they?
Maybe Director Martin can help with that, with what's possible in terms of a variety of housing that's available.
I'm going to jump in here and just ask for a clarification. When we talk about 10%, we have 26 units, so 10% would be about 3 units. But I think, Councillor O'Sullivan, are you including the additional units? So you're looking at 52 units, of which 5 would be. So where are we landing in terms of affordability? If I can ask the developer, are we looking at 3 or 5?
There we go.
Yeah, we have accounted for 5 units, and we have some flexibility in terms of the townhouses versus the ARUs. So that's, I think the next stage as part of the site plan control agreement is to figure out what that distribution is. But yes, we are open and flexible to it.
Thank you. I apologize, Councillor O'Sullivan, for jumping in, but
No,
yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
okay.
That's good to hear, because I think it would be unfair if they were all just the 1-bedroom ARUs.
I agree.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions from council? And Madam Mayor, I don't see your hand up there. So we'll go forward. What I'll do is I'll read the resolution to the committee. That council approved bylaw 61-25 to rezone 503 James Street, part of William Fannin lot on Plan 11, from residential density 1, R1, to residential density 3, exception, with a holdings symbol, R3-30-H. So I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Wilson moved, seconded by Councillor Strackerian. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Passed. Thank you. Moving on to the agenda. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda of our regular meeting. So the following consent agendas are to be approved as presented. Equinel Phase 6A Part Lot Control Bylaw Amendment. That's the first. To award NG 25-17 East Quad Sluice Gate installation. And the third item is confirmation bylaws of July 14th. This is our opportunity to move something from the consent agenda and make it part of the regular agenda. Any appetite for that? Seeing none. So be it resolved that the following items be approved as presented, and I just read out the list. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Councillor O'Sullivan, seconded by Councillor Strachian. Split decision there. And I'll call the question. All in favor? Great. Thank you very much. Now we're moving on to reports. And the first one is the Retirement Transition Program, and I believe our CAO is going to present that report. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the report that you have is based on a program recently approved by the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville and is becoming more common as a practice for corporate knowledge retention, succession planning, and recruitment from municipal entities. Many municipalities are experiencing a shortage of experienced and trained staff. The workforce is aging, and we need to provide a framework for a continuation of the corporate knowledge. This is a voluntary program to provide a framework for employees to provide a longer notice before retiring and to assist in training and transfer of knowledge to their replacements. A minimum 4-month notice and agree to work with the replacement employee for up to 8 weeks and provide some assistance should it be required for a defined period beyond. This program is to provide a transition plan for health and dental coverage for what was proposed as a 2-year transition, but in discussion with other municipalities and senior staff members, it may not provide the results anticipated. Life insurance provisions have been removed for consideration. The amended proposal would be to provide for a sliding scale of coverage until the age of 65 or 70. 2 years at 100% premium coverage, 2 years at 80%, 2 at 60, 2 at 40, and 2 at 20. The offset percentage would be covered by the retired employee with payment terms through the agreement. The employee would have to agree voluntarily to retire and provide training and transfer of knowledge to their replacement. The employee would need to be OMERS eligible, over 55, and be a North Grenville employee for a minimum of 10 years. A retirement transition agreement would need to be signed off by the employee and the employer. Now, this is a variant from, there is a change in regards to some of the background material provided in your report. We only received the costs, the finalized costs actually earlier today. So the costs of this program are anticipated to be per employee per year would be at 100%, $2,613 in 2025 dollars, 80% at $4,970, at the 60%, and on that decreasing scale, for 60%, it goes down to $3,728, at 40%, $2,485, and at 20%, $1,285. The offsetting premiums will be covered by the employee. In 2025, we have 10 employees that could be eligible, but only anticipate 2 utilizing this program and retiring. In 2026, 2 employees and 1 in 2027. This program could run for a maximum of 10 years for an employee, but would terminate at age 70 years of age at the maximum. So that completes my brief change in regards to the report, and I anticipate questions and happy to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Dunlop. Right off the bat, this additional financial information, it wasn't ready. It was only acquired today. And this program is going to enable us to maintain and preserve the institutional memory of the organization, correct? While effectively onboarding new staff, because there'll be a transition period. So what is the potential cost then? You're saying 2 potential employees this year, 2 next year, and possibly 1 in 2027. Do we have an idea, or can you crunch some numbers there? And what would be the actual cost to the municipality if we approve this program? I mean, in your estimate, yeah. And then I'll go to Madam Mayor for a question. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. In year one, it would be 12,426. Should it be a full year at 12 months? It is anticipated that this would be a half year, as we are so far through that. So it would be $6,213 in this fiscal year. Next fiscal year would be $12,426, and the year after that, $6,213, based on the two and one scenario. So over the next 3 years, which is what we have taken a look in regards to the longer serving employees that have 10 plus years experience over the age of 55 and are getting to the point of owner's consideration. That would be the total of 5 employees. It would be a little over $25,000 over a 3-year term.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, you've got a question?
Yes, through you, Chair. Thank you. Certainly, I was at the United Counties when a similar program was developed, recognizing that there could be, certainly at the county level, a departure of very seasoned staff with extensive corporate knowledge, who obviously by law are required to effectively give a very short period of notice if they decide one day that they're in the mood to retire and they've come to the end of their paid working life, certainly for the counties. So we had the extensive discussion around the county's table about how to structure the program so that it created the opportunity for that knowledge transfer. I think it's certainly in the municipality's best interest to create the conditions for something similar in North Grenville. The United Counties had other aspects of the program, which I believe Ms. Dunlop has not chosen to incorporate into this proposal. And what we heard at the counties is that in many respects, it was the access to a benefits program, a health benefits program, that often proved to be the most challenging for older employees who may have some health issues and are concerned about their access to medical, dental, pharmaceutical, etc. I did note that Ms. Dunlop in her verbal presentation spoke to up to 8 weeks of a sort of transition where an employee would be committing to actively train their successor. I'm curious why the upper limit might be 8 weeks. Certainly I know at the counties we had discussion about it being potentially 8 to 12 weeks or 8 to 16 weeks for a seasoned employee who's been with the municipality for a very, very long time. One could argue that it's almost impossible to fully transfer that corporate knowledge and insight. But I'm love to hear a little bit more from Ms. Dunlop on why the time parameter of just up to 8 weeks.
Ms. Dunlop?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Madam Mayor. So the program, as I propose it, is a minimum of 4 months notice. And I had in my verbal notes done 8 to 12 weeks, but unfortunately did not verbalize it. The transition and notice period is the important component. As we know, it takes a certain period of time to recruit the successful applicants. So if we are starting it at the 4 months out of the block in regards to getting that recruitment, we should have someone within the 2-month period, which would give up to 2 months of notice, which is why I put it as a minimum of 8 weeks. So of course, it's at council's discretion should they wish to say 8 to 12 weeks.
Madam Mayor, you're most familiar with what the counties did. I have one question before you respond to Ms. Dunlop, and that is, did the counties adopt it on a trial basis or from your recollection at county's table?
That is my understanding, that it was a pilot program that was brought in just over a year ago, and has been effective in supporting some important transitions within the organization. But certainly, I think it was intended to be a 5-year pilot. So yes, I would say it was understood that the efficacy of the program would be evaluated on an annual basis. Again, I think the counties had a longer, my understanding, though Ms. Dunlop has done some more recent homework on this, so my memory is such that I had understood that you would need to give 6 months notice at the counties in order to truly facilitate a fairly fulsome transition with an incoming employee who, as Karen has noted, needs to be recruited, hired, so that is time consuming. So I don't, again, I would defer to Ms. Dunlop in terms of the timelines she's identified as optimal. But again, the rationale behind the program is to facilitate a successful and comprehensive transition between a longstanding employee and their successor. And it's not always the case that it's an internal person who will be assuming the position of the outgoing employee. So that recruitment and that active recruitment period before someone is in the position of the outgoing employee does need to be considered, but with a little more notice on the part of the participating employee in this pilot program, you could likely get more than 8 weeks.
Thank you. Councillor Starkian.
Thank you, through Deputy Mayor, to the CAO. I'm just trying to match up numbers because the report is saying one thing and I'm hearing a different set of numbers. So I just, I understand things could have evolved since the report was created. Under paragraph 5, under the general policy parameter in the report, I believe attached to our agenda, it says that eligible employees electing to participate in this program must provide a minimum of 3 months notice of retirement. So not 4 months, 3.
With the change in regards to actual getting some of the costings, I did, and with the decreasing scale transition, I did change it from 3 to 4.
Okay.
So what is before you this evening is 4 months.
It is not in the report, though. It says 3 months. Okay,
is
so
correct.
that has been updated. And then under the voluntary retirement transition program section of our report, it states that the overlap of at least 4 weeks and no more than 4 months to allow for a smooth transition of knowledge transfer to the incoming employee. So that's 4 weeks to 4 months, which is not what I believe what the recent conversation was. Is that correct?
Yes, so it is a 4 months notice with a minimum crossover of 8 to 12 weeks.
So that has changed as well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you. So why a 5-year trial basis? Why not a 10-year trial basis, for example?
I took that, through you, Mr. Chair. I just took that through other programs. So the other program also didn't have the decreasing scale. There was also lesser years of service in other programs, more years of service in some programs. So it was an average between, but since doing that decreasing scale, it would be a maximum of 10 years at that decreasing scale. So again, it was something that was in the original report. Then I bring you the verbal update with a variant that wasn't necessary in black and white. So I just left that as is, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So are you recommending a 10-year trial period? Even though, with this fresh financial information that you've got?
If I may, Mr. Chair, the level of the trial period being 5 years versus maxing out at 10, it's always council's decision that can remove the program. I think we can assess the financial impact to the municipality as well as the success of the program in regards to the retention of the corporate knowledge at the 5-year mark. But of course, always at council's direction, we could make it a longer program. The county's program, unfortunately, I couldn't scan through and find it very quickly. So I do not know the term of their specific pilot, so relying on Madam Mayor's knowledge.
Madam Mayor, do you have anything to contribute to my
I
question?
think a 5-year pilot is appropriate. The organizations change, the dynamics change. There's all sorts of reasons we would wish to reevaluate, or the forthcoming council might wish to reevaluate with a new CAO. So I'm less concerned about the length of the pilot. I think it's more prudent to say, let's do it for up to 5 years. I remain concerned about a 4-month notice provision by the outgoing employee. I believe that's very generous in that it potentially only allows for an 8-week transition, which in my estimation is still quite short. So I would be more comfortable with Ms. Dunlop exploring a 4 to 6 month window. And I don't know what the rationale was for Karen to propose just 4 months. Clearly, I think people who are contemplating retirement, often are doing it for years, but for whatever reason, they don't take that final step. And this program is intended to facilitate a crucial transition for seasoned and longstanding employees. So again, I think 4 months is really tight to accomplish the objectives of the program. And so I would prefer to see a little more leeway there. But again, I don't necessarily have the same insight that Ms. Dunlop does into the way in which this program would be received or promoted internally to some of those more seasoned employees. So maybe she can shed a little more light on that.
Ms. Dunlop, how do you feel about taking that as direction that Madam Mayor suggested?
Through you, Mr. Chair, for a 6-month request for retirement, I am at council's direction. Our current HR policy says 3, so I bumped it up to 4 throughout this program for the consideration of that transfer of knowledge. But absolutely, I think Madam Mayor is correct in regards to, I know that we've had a couple directors that have looked and created their retirement planning, books that are ready, plans in place for that transition. So I look to council's direction. If it's 4 or 6, that's up to council.
Councillor Strachan.
Thank you, through Deputy Mayor. I'm leaning towards the suggestion of the mayor in that we have challenges with filling certain key positions. We don't always find the right candidate on the first go. 4 months would be very tight, I think, and allowing for sufficient overlap. So I would be leaning towards 6 months to allow for that bigger window, or if it has to read 4 to 6 months, that's fine. But 4 would, if you say 4 to 6 months, you might as well say 4. So I would say change it to 6. Thank you.
Councillor O'Sullivan, Councillor Wilson, are you in agreement with that suggestion? Go ahead, Councillor O'Sullivan.
Sure. Yes, I am. Thank you. At the hospital, it was requested that you gave 6 months retirement notice. And HOOP actually wanted 6 months retirement notice as whenever possible. That's just aside. But I do have a question about the benefits through you, Deputy, to the CAO. Benefits, extending the benefits to age 65 or 70. So does that, I mean, that's 5-year difference. So does that depend on the age of the employee retiring, or how much longer they want to take the extra benefits? And then this sliding scale. So initially, the municipality will cover 100% of the premiums, then it'll drop to 80 in, is it 2 years or 1 year?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I am looking at a 10-year program, dropping it every other year. So 100% for the first two, 80% for the next two, 60% for the next two, down to 40 and down to 20. So that is a 10-year coverage. In regards to the 65 or 70, with the OMERS program, a person that has started with the municipality at the age of 20 could be eligible for retirement at 55. So they could be eligible for the full 10 years. That is not necessarily typical, but it is a possibility. So that's why I put 65 or 70. Our normal age of requirement is anywhere from 60, 61 to 65. So they would not get the full maximum 10 years out of the program, but at age 70, that's it, cut off. So let's say the scenario, someone's retiring at 62, while they're 62, 63, they're 100%, 62, 63, so they'd be eligible for 8 years at the decreasing scale.
Okay, thank you. And this is the benefits we're talking, extended health and dental? Those are the only, this does not include life insurance and does not include, obviously, OMERS because you've already retired and collecting.
Through you, Mr. Chair, correct. It does not include life insurance. It does not include, of course, your short-term disability, your ADD, or your long-term disability. So yes, it is the health and medical.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Well, I trust you've got enough direction, and I'll just go ahead and read the resolution as it's written. Okay. The recommendation is that council approve the retirement transition agreement program on a 5-year trial basis. So I'm looking for a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Starkey-Yan, and to second it, Councillor Wilson. Ms. Dunlop, I trust you've got enough direction. That's all we need. Okay. And so I'll call the question. All in favor? Great. That's carried. Moving on. Thank you, Mr. Dancy, for hanging in there. We're going to now receive a report on the 2025 budget year-to-date. Mr. Dancy.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Barkley. Through you to council, just a little reminder that in February, the council approved the water and wastewater operating and capital budgets in the amounts of $4.8 and $39.1 million respectively. And in March 19th, they approved a municipal budget of $29.2 million in operating and $15.8 million in capital expenditures. Here today just to present you with a high-level update on where things stand as of June 30th. Happy to say it appears that things are on track at a high level. Halfway through the year, we have recognized most of a good 80% of revenue on the municipal side. Of course, the majority of that is from the tax levy, which has been 97.5% collected to date of the budgeted amount of $20.5 million. Operating expenses appear to be reasonable for this time of the year. The regular recurring expenses such as salaries and benefits, which come every 2 weeks, are about 44%. This is a little bit lower than half because of the one less pay period per half during the year, as well as there's ongoing staff vacancies to date that we're not paying out at this time. The insurance amount is a little over 100%, but the premium has been paid in full for the year. So there should not be much more variance over the course of the remaining 6 months of the year. The rest of the expenses are on time. I'd like to point out under debt servicing and transfers, a very low number, but I would like to assure council that all the debt payments are up to date. And this just really reflects timing of payments. And this number will, of course, come up as the year goes on. On the water and wastewater operating side, again, recurring expenses appear to be in line. The revenue, mostly from user fees, is a little over half, which we would expect from monthly billing. The debt servicing costs are up to date. Transfers, of course, the capital will be made at year end, so those expenses will go up over the final quarter. Attached to the report are summaries per department as they were presented to council. Again, I'd just like to reiterate things appear to be online. For this point in time, we'll be keeping, of course, an eye on things and expect to have a better in-depth analysis after the third quarter, after the summer season of building. Probably we'll get more consulting invoices in and paid. I'd like to think that the expenses shown to date are reflective of the invoicing that we have on our books, but does not necessarily reflect the work that's being done at this time. Things will have a habit of being invoiced after the fact. Just looking at the capital expenditures, it is pretty low to date, which would be expected given that the majority of capital projects start in the summer months. And again, we would expect that the expenses will rise accordingly over the next 6 months to be as close as we can get to the budget, depending on what can get done in, over the course of the season. Really, that's just the high level outlook. Really, I don't think there's anything to be worried about at this time. Of course, world circumstances could dictate otherwise, but we will keep an eye on the expenses as much as possible. And I would welcome any questions you would have on things to date.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Dancy. Questions from council? Not seeing any? Wow.
Maybe Deputy Mayor, I
Yes.
can just
Go ahead.
say we appreciate the variance report. I certainly know at the county's level, we receive these fairly regularly throughout the year, and they are quite insightful. There's a little more detail provided at the county's level, but they have a system that they've been using for many, many years to provide the insight to county colleagues on how things are going, department by department. But certainly I think we're very pleased to receive this first report and know that Mr. Dancy can build on it for his next one. So that context and insight that's in the report is certainly appreciated.
Great. Go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor, to the Mayor. Thank you for the kind comments. I appreciate it. I would also just like to reiterate the fact that we fully expect to come back to council on a more regular basis with a little bit more fulsome analysis of where things are going and to incorporate input, of course, from all departments.
I have a question that's not related to your report, which I'm grateful for and look forward to seeing them more regularly. And that's regarding the 2024 audit. Where do you know where we're at with that?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I actually spoke to our auditor last week. We are tentatively scheduled to start in the first week of September. So I think we will have auditors in maybe late August to start the prep for the field work. We have not received from them their list of items that they want to see as yet, but I would anticipate we would be probably coming around the same time this year as we did last year to council. Fingers crossed.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from council before I read the resolution? No? Okay. So the resolution is as follows. That council received the 2025 budget year-to-date report number FIN-2025-011 as of June 30th, 2025 for information. So I'll be looking for a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Wilson moves and seconded by Councillor O'Sullivan. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you very much, Mr. Dancy. Moving right on. Notice of motions. I have a notice of motion and I'll read it. Thank you for printing off that copy. And this just came from a discussion today with the BIA and Matt Gilmer. The notice of motion is as follows. Whereas the Council of the Municipality of North Grenville recognizes the importance of banner displays within the municipality, and whereas the Council of the Municipality of North Grenville wishes to provide a structured and consistent approach for considering eligible applicants requesting to display banners according to an effective schedule of rotation within the municipality, And whereas the Council of the Municipality of North Grenville recognizes that banners can be effective means to promoting civic, charitable, or community-oriented events and activities occurring in the municipality, and whereas the Council of the Municipality of North Grenville deems it advisable to adopt a street banner display policy, now therefore, Council directs staff to consult with key civic and community stakeholders to bring forward a draft street banner display policy to Council no later than Q4, December 31st, 2025. And so hopefully we can bring that to Council, Madam Clerk, at the next meeting. And that's that. Next is miscellaneous or unfinished business, and this regards the Mental Health Initiatives Fund. And the resolution is as follows. Be it resolved that Council approve the following grants and facility rental fee waivers as per the Mental Health Initiatives Fund. $3,000 grant to Girls Inc. of Upper Canada, $2,929 grant to the Kentville Youth Center, a $3,000 grant and $389.34 of facility rental fee waiver for LLG Addictions and Mental Health, and a $3,000 grant and $681.39 facility rental fee waiver for the Ontario Parenting Connection, and that Council directs staff to proceed in accordance with the Mental Health Fund Initiatives Policy. So there we have it, and I'll be looking for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Strakoyan and Councillor O'Sullivan. Any discussion before we go forward and call a question? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That motion is passed. Thank you very much. Questions from the media and the public? Have we had any? No? Okay, great. Confirmation bylaw. Recommendation, be it resolved that bylaw 65-25 to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on July 16th, 2025 be adopted and passed. Looking for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Wilson, Councillor O'Sullivan. Call the question. All in favor? And finally, adjournment. Be it resolved that this regular meeting of council adjourn at 9:10 p.m. Thank you everyone for hanging in there. A mover, Councillor Strakoyan, seconded by Councillor O'Sullivan. Call the question. All in favor? Passed. Thank you very much. And good night, and I'll see you in a month.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for chairing. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.